So what we were trying to do is reference in some files from Roadway. So I'm going to go up to my Roadway folder. I'm going to use Control, and I'm going to pick the DSGN RD01 and the alignment file. And I'll open those. For your alignment file, you don't want to reference the default model. You want to reference the ALGN RD_50. That has the 50 scale tick marks and station labels in it.
Where do you do that? What you just do?
Okay, so when you reference in these files, at the top of the dialog, when you reference in the alignment file, it will default to the default model. You want to pick the ALGN RD50. If you've already referenced it in and you accidentally got the default model referenced, that's okay. You can go to your references dialog, right-click on the ALGN RD01 and go to settings, and you can swap out what model is referenced without having to go through that whole process again.
But the other two can be default.
Yeah, the other two are just default. It's probably the only levels in there. We don't need the survey file. We don't need the GK line file. Really, probably all we need is our DRP-RRD, because we're about to hopefully create some pattern lines that cut through those structures, and we want to put those structures on cross sections. So this is a potential here on step 8, 14.6, where we might run into an issue. We're going to find out. You're going to click on the next to the last icon in the first row of drainage plans. It's going to say draw drainage pattern lines. Now I'm getting a couple of error messages here. I did get it to open up, so we'll push it as far as we can. I'm going to move forward a little bit to see how far I can push mine, and we may have to end up fixing a couple of things. If it's still canceling, try clear crash. Yeah, it may not get you out of there.
Yeah, never mind.
Oh, hold on. Go ahead and get rid of that dialog box there. The second scale.
All right, I got mine to work. We'll get everyone's working. Let's say you ran into this problem and you had to absolutely get this done. You could draw the pattern lines manually. Yeah, if I use the old tool, that should do that.
It'll allow you to have multiple.
Yeah, I don't know if it's drawing them from. It should go in station order.
Left to right.
Yeah, it lets you pick a chain. We don't care about the profile. Left and right offset, you can pick the symbology. So you could use, if you had to, the older Geopack tool for drawing pattern lines. You have to draw it exactly at the station, the center of the structures. You could even draw those lines manually, but as James is saying, they have to be drawn oriented left to right and lower station to higher station. Yeah, they have to be a line, not a line string. There can't be any PIs in it. It's just endpoints. All right, so I'm reopening the DRXSRD01 file. Don't really need to reopen the drainage project for this tool to work. And then we'll start here back in our FDOT plans preparation task but we're going to be in the, not the drainage plans, but we'll be in the cross sections portion. For your model, for the DGN model, you want to be in the PATTRD model. There are a couple of issues that we think we found here on the pattern lines, and you'll want to make sure for your best option here is to delete some of these pattern lines. So as you go into that PATTRD model, there's going to be a pattern line almost right across from S205. You're going to see a manhole, and you're going to have a pattern line that goes right through that manhole. That manhole doesn't connect to anything else. We think that might be causing some problem with the next few steps that we're going to do. So we really don't even want a cross section there. And as long as the pattern line isn't there, a cross section's not going to get created. So you're going to find one pattern line that goes right through this manhole at roughly station, it's going to be 70419, and you're going to delete that pattern line that's in there. So there's a red line that's going to cut right through that manhole. Just delete the red line. And then you're also going to see a DBI. There's going to be a pattern line going through that. That DBI is also not connected to anything else. Delete that pattern line. And then we're not sure on this next one, but you're going to see a pattern line that goes right through S205. And the only difference, we ended up with it stopping and not processing at that particular station. And the only thing we noticed that was different is that pattern line didn't have a corresponding structure over on the other side of the road. That may not be the issue, but we don't know because it stopped processing there. But there's another one here at 209 that it may not work on. So I'm going to leave that one in there, and we'll be able to process and create our cross sections, and we'll make sure that we're at least able to get a couple of cross sections to have the drainage structures on them. We probably will not be able to debug and get them all working. I've been able to get 3 to work so far. And I'll walk you through all those steps when we get there. So you're deleting, you should have deleted 3 red pattern lines. I'm in the DRXSRD01, but I'm in the model, the PATTRD model. Yeah, delete the one at S205 and delete the 2 that go through these structures that don't have anything connecting them. That may or may not be the issue. We're going to get it to run for a couple of stations and call it good. We're not going to go and fix them all. Mainly what we're trying to teach is the process. We're not all trying to do 10 copies of this project. But definitely in the real world, if you have a structure that nothing is going to, don't put a pattern line there. And there may be an issue with the criteria file that doesn't like it when there's just one structure that the pattern line is going through. Don't know, not really sure on that. So you'll have these pattern lines, and I would still make sure that go up to your utilities menu and pick data cleanup. Let's make sure there's not a pattern line sitting right on top of another pattern line or close enough that it treats it as a single pattern line. So I've deleted 3 pattern lines, just regular MicroStation delete tools. And now I'm sitting inside of utilities, data cleanup, and I'm going to set my duplicates to be selected. I'm going to hit apply. You just want to make sure that there are no duplicates in this file. I think you'll find a couple, maybe 4. So you're under Design File Cleanup. I have my duplicate set to select. I'm hitting Apply. Make sure that number that comes up is 0. If it's not 0, items will be selected automatically. Hit your Delete key. Hit Apply again, and then it should show 0 duplicates. And if you don't find any duplicates, that's great. All right, so now what you'll do is you'll right-click and hold down your right mouse button, and you're going to pick Select All on Level by Element. And you're going to click on one of the red lines. One red line that you click on will highlight briefly, and then all the other ones will get selected. So you're going to right-click and hold down your right mouse button, and you'll pick the very top of the pop-up menu. It'll say Select All on Level by Element. And then you'll left-click on any one of the pattern lines. It'll highlight briefly, and then it'll go ahead and grab all the pattern lines. The reason you're selecting and picking these ahead of doing the steps on 14.7 is we have to have these selected for this tool to work. You can select them right in the middle of using the tool. It's just easier to select these ahead of time. So now at the top of 14.7, we're going to go to the cross sections task, and you're going to click the first icon in there that says Create Cross Sections. And if you're like me, you'll sit here and wait for something to happen about half the time, but you have to go out onto your screen, and it's going to say Locate Alignment. And you're going to zoom into your center line alignment, and you're going to left click on that center line. It's going to bring up part of the dialog box. It is going to sit there for a good 30 seconds or so. The whole screen may even blank out for a moment. Give it literally a minute of time. It will open and it's not going to crash. I know we're expecting that to happen. It sure looks like it's going to happen. It should not. Literally give it about a minute of time. Once that opens up, and it's really true with this is an Open Roads dialog box. Any of these dialog boxes that have a lot of different options that you could fill out that someone has built, hopefully for you, you're going to be able to, and this is where we kind of stopped before lunch. Step 3 on 14.7, we're going to click the Preferences button. And now, hopefully, everyone can, if you've gotten this far, you can read your preferences. And these names here, they correspond exactly to the old cross-section sheet names, if you've ever done that older process. So you'll pick this XS20_10, and you're going to click the Load button. You're going to get the little swirly there for a moment. It'll go away. Should not shut down on you. And you're going to click Close. Now it's going to create inside of the DGN file, it's going to create a brand new model. It's always going to try to call that model the same name as this alignment. The alignment was called SR61 that we clicked on. That's what it's trying to call the model. We're going to rename that model to SR61_DR for drainage. You'll see that at the top of page 14.8. I'm not displaying it in view 3, not really concerned about what view it comes into. One of the main things that this preference loads is it picks this layout as stacked. So if you want the cross sections, even though we're cutting Open Roads cross sections from a model, if you want the cross sections to end up on your standard old Geopak cross section cells, so all those old tools will work, you pick the stacked option. So the next thing we need to do is go to Custom, and we don't want to just do it every 100 feet, or every station, the interval, we only want to cut cross sections where those pattern lines are that we drew. That's why we drew the pattern lines. That's why we selected them. So what you're going to have to do in step 6 here, after we go to the custom folder here, you're going to click in the upper right hand side. The station range, you're going to have to change that pull down to say line string. I don't think, yeah, they do show that in the book at the top of page 14.9. What you're trying to get to come up here is the graphics button, and that's why we selected those ahead of time. So you're going to change your type at the upper right to line string, and then you're going to click on this graphics button, and it's going to load up that station list. And it should not say cannot process any items. We saw that message at lunch or whatever you want to call that, and we found out the reason was there were pattern lines sitting on top of each other. That's why we checked and deleted any duplicates ahead of time. So far, so good. You're going to hit apply. You're going to get the little swirly of death in this case, or not. It should go ahead and create that SR61_DR model. So that model is going to have a gray background to it. If you're fine with that, that's fine. I usually change it mainly because I'm usually on a projector of some type, and the grayed out background just doesn't work real well. If you don't like it, if you ever want to change the background color of these cross sections, as soon as I get back in here and recreate mine, I'll go ahead and show you how to do that. Actually, I can show you from memory, I think. If you go to Workspace Preferences and go to the very last option on the left-hand side, which is, I think, View Options, click on that, and you're going to see there's a drawing model background color. Change it from gray. Click on the little square. Change it from gray to whatever background color you want to pick. Why I can remember that, I don't know. It's a malfunction in my brain of some type. But it's under Workspace Preferences, View Options. Check on Drawing Model Background Color. Click on the little color box. Change it to whatever you want to change it to. That's not only for this file. It's any other time you open up a model that is a drawing model. And it'll change the background for you. While you're there, or while I'm sitting there, if you find yourself opening up files and every time you open up someone's files, you have to reset your highlight color to something different because you use something different. Or you have your selection set differently than the files that you open, you can check on these two and it'll override any file that you open. It doesn't change the file itself, it's just overriding that. Here at the bottom of page 14.9, step 15, go up to your Geopack menu, or actually from your cross sections task. From that cross sections task, click the second icon. It should open up the old cross section navigator. That means they're the plain old regular Geopack cross-section cells, which means you could run earthwork on them. It means you could create cross-section sheets from them. It means that we can run the criteria file for drainage structures, hopefully, that we want to run. You can annotate them. There's an older cross-section annotation tool. You can run the third icon in cross-sections, draw ancillary features, where you draw crossing utilities, etc., that you might have in your project. Once they're Geopack cross-section cells, anything you've done with the older cells before, you can do again. You will see that there is a little bit of an error in their models. There's a tool that searches for traffic separator and what's happening in the median. you shouldn't really have those little white tick marks above the cross section. Shouldn't hurt anything, just a little side note there. Also in the model, unless the level is off, I don't think that particular model, I don't see any existing ground line. Okay, you should have an existing ground line. If you did not get the existing ground line, go back to your PATTRD model, and under references, you will want to attach your GDTM-RD02 from the survey folder. That's why I was not getting it as well. Yeah, you're attaching the GDTM-RD02, and the reason you're attaching the 02 and not the 01 is this tool is looking for an open roads terrain model. That is in the 02 file. The 01 file, I think, has just the graphic triangles in it.
Sections in it?
I didn't have this in there. I just put it
As long as you attach that GDTM-RD02, you should end up with the existing ground line. Now you will have to rerun the cross-section tool. So what I would do is go back to your PATTRD model and then delete the SR61_DR. And I'll get all the settings up on screen. I'll do the same thing. You'll end up rerunning the cross-section tool. So you'll click on the cross-sections, you'll click your alignment. You'll have to literally wait about a minute or so for that create cross-section dialog to load up. You'll need to reload the 20_10 cross-section preferences. And you'll need to reselect those pattern lines and pick them on that custom leaf here. So you'll pick custom, we'll set it to line string, click on graphics, that's gonna, oh, it looks like it only grabbed one of them. There we go. And then you'll hit apply again. Should open up that model with the cross sections having the existing ground line now. All right, so, and this time mine are stacked, vertically. That's fine. All right, so what we need to do now is over here on page 1410. Really, everything we've been doing in chapter 14 has been leading up to this point here. We had to place the pattern lines so we could cut the cross sections exactly where those structures are. We had to clean up some pattern lines that really didn't need to be there. We created these cross sections. Whole reason is that we need to go ahead and draw the drainage structures on top of these cross sections. You may be able to get these, and they may already be in the roadway folder. You can make a copy of that file. What we're doing is we are drawing on top of these existing cross sections. So to do that, we're going to go here and open up our project manager. So you're going to go here to your main Geopack menu, and you're going to go to Road Project Manager. It should pick up your SR61 Drainage PRJ. You may get unable to access feature database. That's okay. That's fine. And then you'll be able to pick student, click OK. And what we're trying to get to is this big proposed cross sections button That's here on the right-hand side of that road project dialog. Once you click on that proposed cross-sections dialog, you should see that there's a list of runs that come up. You want to pick that drain _ excess run. You're going to see that there's a lot of sections here on this dialog that's about to come up, and they have filled out almost all of that for us, and they saved it as a run. Does everyone have the drain excess run? You're going to click that, you click OK, and you're going to see the proposed cross-sections dialog. We're going to go through everything on the left-hand side, and we're going to check and make sure that everything is good to go. So your first section on the left-hand side is it's going to say excess DGN file, and you want to make sure that if you hover over where the excess DGN file path is, it says CE Projects 220 drainage, and it's pointing to your DREXRD01 folder. Should be fine. Tolerance. Tolerance should be pointing to 0.01. And then we're going to move down to pattern line. It should be searching along chain SR61. And you may have to change your horizontal and vertical scale from 20 and 10 to 2 to 1. Might not make any difference at all. It's generally picking up that ratio, but we'll change it anyway. The search criteria should be looking for pattern lines 1_DP. If your pattern lines aren't drawn on that level, won't work. The existing ground, your DGN file there, and this is at the bottom of 1410, should be pointing to the file we're in, DRXSRD01, and it should point to level names XSGRD line _EX. Shouldn't have to touch anything there. Flipping over to the top of the next page, 1411, you're going to click on Shapes, and you're going to set that to Shapeless. It should already be set. Then moving to step 6, we're going to move to Shape Clusters. That should already be set. You're going to see a shape cluster at the top. It's going to say the chain is SR61. The tie PGL is 0. The profile is SR61_PR. Shouldn't have to touch anything. Define DGN variables, nothing to do. Define variables, nothing to do. Plot parameters, probably nothing to do. Everything on plot parameters should be unchecked just like it is at the bottom of 1411. And then at the top of 1412, we're going to click on Drainage. We want to make sure that we check on Draw Drainage Components. Your project database should be your SR61 GDF file. And you're probably going to have to change the drainage DGN file. That run, I believe you'll find out if you hover over the drainage DGN file, it might not point to the right location. But just check it. It should point to the DRPRRD01.DGN. So far, so good? Should be good then. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pick File, Save Settings. That will save the settings in that run. So if we need to redo it, we don't have to go back and check any of the settings anymore. And then we want to process this. We're going to pick File, Run. I would not log it to screen. I would log it to a log file. It'll still log it to screen right in front of you as well. And I would call that log file, I called mine drainexcess.log. And there is a trick we're going to try here, so you at least get 2 or 3 cross sections and get it to work somewhat. You're going to check on this pause on each section. I went through this during the lunchtime, and I know how many times to click one particular button before it's going to mess up, if it does mess up. So make sure you check on pause on each section. Don't check on criteria viewer. Don't check on disable view update. And then you're going to hit apply. And this is way back to the beginning of chapter 14. This is where it wants that stub file. So let that run. Yeah, so once it asks you for the stub text file, you'll click File, and you'll need to go out to your drainage folder, and you'll pick the SR61 stubs text file. You'll click OK. On the right side, we're going to just have the structure number only. You'll click OK to that. The structure label offset from the center line is going to be 6.5. It's in feet. You'll click OK to that. And then the stub extension, that's the little piece of the pipe that comes out of the cross section if it's kind of pointing your direction. That's going to be 4.5. You're going to click OK on that, and it's going to jump to one section, and you'll hit continue once, twice, hit continue 3 times, and then hit abort run. Just trust me on this.
Yeah, you hit it too many times.
Yeah, you hit it. I did this a bunch. But now this was before cleaning up the extra pattern lines, before cleaning up the duplicates. I might run it again in a minute, but for right now I'm clicking continue 3 times, and I'm hitting abort run. And the reason I did that is if I hit run continue one more time, it's going to crash and it's going to lose these drainage structures that it did draw. So it did 3 sections and it's not perfect, but it did a pretty good job. Now sometimes these balloons will mess up. It did a pretty good job at putting those onto the 3 cross sections. So I wanted everyone to at least get structures on 3 cross sections so that we could see that. And we'll skip the putting these cross sections here on sheets over here on page 1413 and 1414, because that is the same exact method that's been out there for at least 15 years. Now, I'm going to push my luck a little further because that's what I do. I'm just going to uncheck pause on each section and hit apply. It'll remember the stubs file. It locked up a little further down the road, literally this time. Locked up at 7:05:38. So this was most of my lunchtime. Find the next station it messed up on, see what's wrong with the pattern line. You could take this Geopack drainage database. I'm pretty sure there's an import from in the SUDA tools. There's an import Geopack drainage database. That'll throw it into the 3D model view. And then if you run the regular cross-section tool that we ran a minute ago, whatever's in that 3D view, it's going to show up on these cross-sections. That could be your workaround.
There you go. See?